It's Here First from IPR. I'm Megan McKinney. In today's episode, we hear from a Democratic candidate for Iowa's open U.S. Senate seat and his thoughts on water quality standards. And we'll also hear the latest on lawmakers' attempts to overhaul Iowa's property tax system. It's Thursday, April 9th. A Bolivian immigrant living in eastern Iowa has been redetained by ICE. IPR's James Kelly reports he could be deported to the Democratic Republic of the Congo under a new deal with the U.S.
The immigrants' rights group Escucha Mi Voz says Jose Ugar Cruz is back in ICE custody after he was released from the Muscatine County Jail in January. A federal judge ruled he had been unlawfully detained by ICE for 18 months. The circumstances around his recent arrest are not clear. Ugar Cruz appeared with a translator on IPR's Talk of Iowa in February to share his experiences in ICE detention.
I had no contact with my family because there was no international calls that we could make. My mom had cancer during that time, and she passed away while I was detained. So it was really painful. It was really challenging.
Escucha Mi Voz organizers say if Ugar Cruz is deported to the DRC, he would be at significant risk of being persecuted, tortured, or killed. I'm James Kelly, IPR News.
Democratic candidates for Iowa's open U.S. Senate seat attended a forum in Des Moines last night. IPR's Natalie Krebs reports they each answer questions on campaign finance, healthcare, and water quality.
State Senator Zach Walz and State Representative Josh Turk appeared at the event in Des Moines hosted by End Citizens United Action Fund and Progress Iowa. Turk and Walz appeared on stage at separate times. Turk says he'd like to make sure there is more federal enforcement of clean water standards in Iowa and support for farmers.
We need far more incentives to our farmers to prevent them putting down fertilizer in the fall and in the winter. We need to make sure that we have more incentives to the farmers and regulations in place for cover cropping, for land barriers like states like what Minnesota have done.
The Democratic primary is on June 2nd. I'm Natalie Krebs, IPR News.
Congressman Randy Feenstra, a Republican candidate for governor, says private schools should accommodate all students who want to attend. Education savings accounts provide state funding to families to help pay for private school tuition, but private schools can reject applications, and they don't have to provide services like special education. Feenstra says parents should get to decide where their kids are educated, and he says allowing public and private schools to compete against each other will help improve Iowa's education system.
I am supportive of the idea of ESAs. I just will say this, is that every school has to make sure they take every child. Right? If we have to compete on a level playing field, the playing field has to be level all the way. That's so important.
Feenstra spoke yesterday at a meeting of the West Side Conservative Club in Urbandale. The Iowa Senate has passed a bill with bipartisan support aimed at overhauling Iowa's property tax system. The bill would cap city and county revenue growth between 2% and 5% based on inflation. It would replace Iowa's rollback system with a 50% homestead tax exemption, and that exemption would grow for seniors as they advance in age. Republican Senator Dan Dawson of Council Bluffs says Iowa's property taxes will remain some of the highest in the country unless something dramatically changes. He says passing the bill sets the stage for finding an agreement with the House and governor.
Band-aid approaches and simple approaches are not going to work. That's what we've tried in the past, and we've got to rebuild the darn system. And it all starts with dealing with the rollback and dealing with the revenue limitation. If we can achieve those things, everything else can come into place in a negotiation.
The bill would also tie the gas tax to inflation, using automatic tax increases to boost funding for road construction. You're listening to Hear First from IPR. I'm Megan McKinney. Thanks for listening today and have a great Thursday.